Good afternoon and a warm welcome to a summary of our earnings call H1 2023. My name is Johannes Laumann. I'm the CIO of Mutares, a special situation private equity investor based in Munich with 11 offices all over the world. So let me give you a quick summary of what we do again and remind you before we go in the details of H1. So we are a European-focused investor. We have 10 offices in Europe, and we just opened our first office overseas in Shanghai, China. And we are focused on special situation, company, corporate carve-outs, restructuring cases, turnaround cases within the industry spots. We operate in 4 segments. We operate in the automotive segment. We operate in the project business, which we call engineering and technology. We operate in the goods and service business, where you find in our portfolio maintenance companies, you find logistic companies in there. And then we added our 4th segment, which is called retail and food. And there we focus on brands which are active in the B2C market, on the retail side, but also on the food side. We look at companies starting from 100 million turnover up to 500, 750. I would consider our sweet spot somewhere between 200 and 400 million operations, where we just today have acquired another company in our segment of automotive, which is called CIE Automotive, predominantly working on forge and machine parts in the truck and commercial vehicle business. And last but not least, every acquisition we do, the company needs to have a lack of operational management, the lack of operational performance. Because we operate with our own consultancy, currently roughly 150 people, which we send into the companies together with the management, together with the local people, to fix the problem and make the company better than it is today. When you see our growth path, we have started in 2019, and we grow now from 1 billion to this year, roughly 5 billion euros in sales. We aim in 2025 to 7, and this is obviously also not the end of the journey, and the 10 billion are, in my personal view, in reach. When you look at our portfolio, and you see here the 4 segments, automotive and mobility, where we have Amaneos Group, a plastic injection molding business, globally established, 1.2 billion in turnover, which is there. Then we have Ferral United. I'll come to that in a second. This is our newest kit, our little powerhouse when it comes to mechanical and metal and aluminium casted and forged parts. We see engineering technology. We have the NEM Group acquired from Siemens Energy. We have a business here merged with Balcadeur, and there's more to come, which are in the heat transfer, heat exchanger business, in the energy segment, in the oil and gas. Goods and service, another business. Let's focus on top 1. The top 2 is Frigoscandia, cooling logistic provider in the Nordics, roughly 300 million of sales. The business is turned around. It's entering the harvesting phase now, and is then in the next months to come also a potential exit. A new one in this goods and services, Arriva, which is acquired from Deutsche Bahn in Germany, but the business is located predominantly in Denmark, in Poland, and in Serbia. Operating trains, operating buses, operating water buses, and operating car sharing also in Denmark. Close to 400 million business, and there is a lot of to do. Privatization and part of the Arriva exit strategy of Deutsche Bahn. And then last but not least, the retail and food business, where we have included La Paire and Sabo and Keeper and Fasana. But there's also the new kit of Gläserne Molkerei, which we acquired from Emmi. And all the retail and food business predominantly has a brand which is there for the customer, and it's a B2C business, where I see significant growth potential in the next weeks, months, and years to come. On Ferral United, I said it before, you see that in the automotive segment with Amaneos plastic injection molding. Ferral United is a group which will be officially launched in September to the market, and it's a group of several acquisitions we have done in the past. 1.3 billion of turnover is the company in the metal and aluminium part of passenger cars, of trucks, and of commercial vehicles. So what we believe is in the tier 1 automotive segment, in a consolidation play of the market. This group is purely in Europe focused, with a very, very strong footprint in Eastern Europe, where we have Shimos, where we have Seltzer, but we also have the other companies, Valor, for example, where we're in exclusive negotiation, which we have already announced. The group is headquartered in Frankfurt, nominates basically all the typical European OEMs in the passengers, OEMs in the truck, and in the commercial vehicle side, for example, companies like John Deere and other commercial vehicle manufacturing. So this is a new powerhouse we just put together, and we strongly believe, like in Amaneos, in the tier one consolidation play in the supply chain market. When we look at the highlights of H1, coming to that, and some of the acquisitions of this feral group you see with MMTB and BEW, which were closed. Today we announced the CIE. Last week we announced the Celsa transaction, which are all fitting into this feral United group. Signing of FSEC is out, the closing is outstanding. FSEC, privatization in Portugal, full trust of the government of Portugal, of the minister, of the banks, of the shareholders, and the stakeholders of the business. We really look forward to close this transaction. There's a lot in for us as Mutares. Sell-side transaction, we have Chapuis, we have Lacroix, FDT, Ganta in France, and we also have SMP. SMP, the largest exit in Mutares history, roughly proceeds up to 150 million. Transaction is signed. We're waiting for the very last approval in the UK, and we have high confidence that the transactions will be closed in Q3 of this year, and then the proceeds are coming in. On the capital market side, we have upgraded our bond to 150 million. We feel comfortable with that on holding level now. It's a Nordic bond facility, which we have established in 2023, has a maturity until 2027, which is good enough for us. Share price went up almost 40% since the beginning of the year, where we still believe with the S&P exit, with our dividend policy, with the commitment of the management who holds almost 40% of the shares, that there's much more to come and much more to come. And at the end, let me outline our biggest asset we have. And basically the only asset we have is our people. So we have 200 people now. We have grown to 200 people in the holding. And I recall when I started in 2016, we were like 25. We're almost 27,000 people in the group, spread all over the world. And we're now focusing our expansion of the holding, short term in the US and China, and midterm also in the other regions of Asia. I'm just returning from a roadshow trip in Asia, and I firmly believe that with India, we have great opportunities in the market. With Japan, which is quite similar from the industry to the European industry. With Korea, exactly the same, but just a little bit smaller than Japan. And with the Southeast Asia and Australia region, there's a lot to gain for us. And a company like us, like Mutares, who is working on the transformation, who is working on a turnaround, who is working on the carve-out of the unloved child, this is really a gap in this region there's no one there at the moment, and we can really fill this gap. So I said it before, I'll come back there very energetic from this trip, and I think there is a great opportunity for us to grow in Asia. When you look at the numbers, you see H1, a very strong growth compared to prior H1, predominantly to do with the acquisitions we have done, obviously. And I think what you clearly see is a strong improvement also on the adjusted EBITDA. And this improvement comes predominantly from the automotive segment. The automotive segment significantly improved by almost 50 million euros in the adjusted EBITDA compared to last year. And this is due to our great work of the operational people. So we have set up restructuring programs last year for the large acquisitions we have done, who are materializing now. In SFC, in Kiko, in Peugeot Motocycle, in ISH, in the entire Amaneos group, but also in the Feral United group, which was there in H1. So great effort from the automotive boys and girls who has improved the result by almost 15 million euros in the first 6 months compared to the last year, 2022. Also, Mutares Holding significantly increased in the revenues. This is due to the extension of our people. This is due to the growth of the consulting practice, which basically resulted then in 23 million more turnover. Portfolio income is still the same. We come into a net income, which is on the level of prior year, without having taken a dividend out of the portfolio, which typically happens more towards the end of the year. So very satisfactory H1. We are very happy with the development of the portfolio. The pipeline is full. and you see the good development of the portfolio and the active transaction. You clearly see in the revenues of the holding going up by 23.4 million euros in H1 2020. When it comes to the expansion, we talked about the geographical expansion. There is still the plan in 2025 to aim for roughly 7 billion, 125 to 150 million of net income in the holding. We still stick to that guidance, and we will give an update of the guidance after the S&P closure and after we have passed the third quarter. And this update we will give you, that's an invitation for October 12th in Frankfurt. You can participate personally or virtually to the Mutares Capital Markets Day 2023. We will talk about the guidance, we will talk about what's to come in the next year. So we'll give you an insight, especially on Ferrol United, our new powerhouse in the automotive segment, on Arriva, our latest acquisitions of the Deutsche Bahn, and then also have the time after the official part for some networking, some snacks, and some chips. So feel invited to our Capital Markets Day 2023 in October on the 12th in Frankfurt. Thank you very much, and have a great summer. Relaxing holidays if you're still holidays ahead. And H1 was great, and H2 will be even greater. Thank you very much.